Order. One member is absent at this point.
I'll go down through a quick roll call. Mrs. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Kinley? Mr. Kinley is absent. Mr. Allen as board president.
Yep, here. And I just texted Mr. Kinley to see if he was going to join us.
I was trying to pull him up, but wasn't getting him.
Thank you.
Everywhere. We're okay.
Yeah. So I have two members present. Mr. Allen present as the board president of the three-member committee.
And Mrs. Thomas, to answer your question, I don't have anybody that called and asked us to call them. We did have somebody call and say they may call in and checked on the number for courtesy of the floor. So I will go ahead and give that number. It is 570-398-5576.
I have a time of 3:06.
We're okay. We're muted. So
can you full screen the Teams? Is that possible in that window?
I don't. I'm kind of afraid of it.
Yeah, just
I have an incoming call. Hello?
Hello, is this a committee meeting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, this is Bert Francis calling. Your committee is
Okay.
Mrs. Thomas, chairman of the committee.
One second. I have you muted. Give me 1 second. I'll have you state your name and where you're from in 1 second.
Okay.
Hey, we have a
Hello?
call-in.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Francis, we can't hear you.
you can state your name and
You can
what
state
you're
your name.
calling for.
Mr. Francis,
Yes, I'm here.
you can state your name and the reason you called.
Okay, my name is Bert, B-U-R-T, first name, Francis, last name, F-R-A-N-C-I-S. I'm just calling because I've attended a lot of these committee meetings, and I think this committee does a great job for the school district. I preface my comment by that, and I think it's a valuable committee. Bad timing for this meeting, though, this time of day. It just restricts some people from being able to attend or even participate, so I hope in the future they can get it up to a better time. Okay, just under on the Jersey Area School Board Capital Project Plan, we have a document that's highlighted in red and yellow and blue, et cetera, et cetera. You folks are all familiar with that, I'm sure. Under the high school, the Johnston House. Can you tell me the status of the Johnston House under the high school?
Mr. Francis, I can tell you that the Johnson House, and I'd have to look back at the agendas, was discussed at a previous capital projects committee meeting.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at, yeah.
The committee did decide to let the Johnson House remain vacant and let it stand there.
I'm just curious. I know it had been discussed in committee to do certain things with the Johnson House, right? Sell it, tear it down, and you've gotten the cost on a demolition, $16,000, I think the document states, the long-range plan, correct? It's first listed in 2018-19.
Yes, we did receive a cost on that, and that was
I
at
can't
the
hear you. I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
We did receive a cost estimate on the demolition of the Johnson House, and at that point in time, it was probably when the committee discussed to not demolish the Johnson House and to leave it remain vacant.
I'm just going to leave it as is.
That is correct. At this
Okay.
time.
Just a suggestion. You know, as you drive by there and on the school district property, et cetera, you go in there, there's a body shop and everything else sitting there right alongside the Johnson House. And I see vehicles encroaching on, I think, the Johnson property. They're moving in, they're encroaching on Johnson. I would like to suggest maybe you put it up for sale, try and sell it to this guy that has the body shop there and get a fence up around there to spruce the place up a little bit. Just like to make a suggestion for you to do that. Thank you. I'm finished. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Mr. Wall, just to I guess give the committee information, we can look into potentially selling the Johnson House, but I do remember us discussing that before, and if I remember correctly, the reasoning why the district took ownership and possession of the house as part of the new complex up there was due to the right-of-way of that deed.
Yeah.
Am I correct in that? Because basically we would have that property the right of way has to cross our property.
Correct.
So I'm not convinced that selling that building is a possibility with that issue.
I think Dave's muted.
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
So I can talk to the solicitor about what we would need to do. I know we can't remove the right of way, so I'm not sure how that potentially could happen. Because of the manners by which districts have to sell property, but we can talk to the solicitor about that potential. Because essentially what Mr. Francis was talking about was selling it to not having competition with another property owner. I kind of agree with him concerning it would work out well for him, but I don't know legally if we can do that. So we'll have to discuss that with the solicitor.
There's just one other minor thing with the Johnson property and the soccer complex. The electricity for the soccer complex comes from
the Johnson House.
Johnson House. So we do have a cost on doing that anyway, so that's not a deal breaker, just one thing to throw in there.
Well, and at this point, I think if we're going to do that feasibility study anyway, let's wait until we get feedback from them. They may come up with another use for that facility that we haven't thought of yet.
I agree. We don't want to say sell it for less than it would cost to modify the electricity coming over to the soccer complex. That would be a tough sell.
There was one other thing. If we were going to demo the Johnson House, that would have been additional parking for anything, or high school parking or the soccer field.
Mrs. Thomas, you won't close courtesy of the floor?
Yes, I'm fine to close the courtesy of the floor.
At 3:14.
All right, next we have the update on approved projects. The first one is the pool main drain repair.
So as we had talked at the last meeting, we were concerned about an issue with the repair of the pool that was done last fall, winter. Mark, am I correct that the technical aspect of it is essentially the grout was coming up?
What it was, the concrete just didn't have enough time to cure the first time, and the concrete separated underneath of the tile bed, which in turn was raising the tile up. We had noticed those issues early March, I think it was, when I reached back out to the contractor, and then he couldn't make it back out because everybody was closed down. So once we did figure out what was going on, and then removing the tile and cutting the concrete back out, that's what we discovered, that the concrete didn't have enough time to cure.
The summary of the story is that the contractor repaired it at his cost. It did not cost the district anything to repair it. The pool was drained and the pool has been refilled. And at this point in time, Mark is just has to do 2 water samples, and then we should be back up and running with the pool. So that repair has been 100% complete.
At this point, they're not using the pool?
We need to get the water samples back before we can open the pool up for them to be able to use it.
They usually don't have classes the first 9 weeks, but I don't know if it's different this year.
They're wanting to, and I'm shooting to have it opened up for occupancy next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like I have to whisper.
Any questions on that? Any update on the middle school roof project?
These are the 2 projects that the committee voted on at the last meeting, and then they went to board approval. It was a repair of the vaulted roof at the gymnasium of the middle school and the E-wing addition on the west end of the E-wing. That was done in 2004. Those 2 roofs were replaced. Those projects are 100% complete.
And what's the warranty?
We're at cost of the original approved cost.
What's the warranty on those, Ben?
20 years, Mark. Those are valid. Those are the new E-wing roof is, I believe, a 20-year, because that became a ballast roof.
Both are 20 years. One roof is a total new roof on the E-wing at roof number 11. That's completely redone. That's a 20-year warranty. And then on the gym roof, that was basically a coating over top of the existing roof, which is the reason we did that, because it's a tapered roof. It's actually a sloped roof, but it's a coating. It's not the stone roof that you traditionally see on our buildings.
Okay. Any questions?
That is also 20 years ago, Mark?
Correct.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the doorway archway in the high school between D126 and D131.
So this is the project that's been slated to be done for the past 2 summers. It got into late last summer to be completed. This is the project that we bid out the early part of May and brought it before the Capital Projects Committee at the last meeting. We only received 1 bid, and I believe that was in the amount of about $55,000. $55,900. The committee recommended to the board to reject that and to rebid the project. And we went through that process, and we did not receive any bids. And coming out of that board meeting, the solicitor recommended I at least reach out to the original bidder, the only bidder, to see if he wanted his bid to carry forward to the next round. He denied that, so we truly had no bids. I advised the committee that Mr. Wall would be looking into that. I believe that email went out in June. Don't remember the exact date, but I remember it was right around the same time of the bid opening. Mr. Wall did look into it, and he discovered issues with obtaining the materials, which I believe was because of COVID, which could potentially be the reason why we did not receive a bid. We have been talking internally here, Mr. Wall feels that the potential is that his staff could do this project next summer
You just run it on net support.
with
execute
the
it
assistance
on all the
of
clients.
some
easy.
subcontracts to do the demolition.
Does that have to be licensed?
I don't think
Any other
so.
contracts
They have
you
to
think you
sign
might
in
need there,
with a
Mark?
license,
No.
that they have already.
So,
But also,
what I would like to
the,
do for the committee would be to, I
the
did
folder
confirm
that
with
it's in
the
has a little
solicitor
text file that
that
says
because
something
of
about
the
installing it.
historical
So it's
data we have on our
copy
bid
the entire
results,
folder
we
to
do
the
not
public
need to
desktop.
bid this project out any further, and we can do it whatever manner we would like to do it.
Have her start all those computers.
Um,
Could you message me or text me?
If the committee is receptive of us doing it internally,
Or sorry, B2.
what I'd like to do is start getting things lined up
The one on the next to the
to
library.
have
Yeah, she knows
everything
what it
board
is. If she just tell
approved
her.
and ready to roll, so that essentially the first day of summer, next summer, they can get started and we could have everybody scheduled to go forward with it. So it doesn't miss out on another summer.
Is it possible, just an out of the ordinary question, to, like, during a break in the school year, do just the demolition and clean that all up, and then in the summer actually rebuild that wall?
I looked at that. I don't personally think it would be worth it, because that's where the real mess would be, trying to
Okay.
get that in the middle of a little bit of a break. And then for what it would be worth, I think it'd just wait till summer. And one good thing, we could have all the material basically in the warehouse ready to go. That wouldn't be a holdup at all. And then we would have the demo company come in, cut the openings, and we'd just finish up behind them.
Okay, just trying to not make them go through a whole nother school year without the situation.
No, I understand.
solved,
I
but
think
that's okay.
I think it would really interrupt Mr. Phelan's class on either side if we would do that right now. He uses that wall for a lot of things on the CTE manufacturing side.
Okay.
I think it would really hold him up.
All right, just ask.
And you could have some life safety concerns with that hole being open with rough concrete and things falling on people, things like that. So
wouldn't be ideal for now.
So is the committee okay with moving this project forward? It won't be the next meeting, but at least giving us direction to start getting the contracts written, start getting at least an estimate of the materials needed, that we can have all that put before the board for approval to, like I said, then start going forward, getting this stuff scheduled and getting it board approved.
Sounds good to me. David?
Yeah, sounds good to
Yes.
me.
as long as it doesn't cut into the time our folks need to do their normal summer projects.
I will probably put something in my board update this week explaining that to the board. Probably reminding them, because like I said, I know it won't come out of at the next board meeting. And I'm not sure if it will even come out in October, just because I don't know if a contractor is going to be willing to enter into an agreement that's going to basically be effective 7-8 months down the road. So, but that at least gives us the ability to start having those conversations of doing that. So it could potentially be looking at January, February timeframe until we could get this under contract with that whoever's going to be doing that.
And that would be just demo work
Yeah, they'd basically just be
for the contract. So it might not be as difficult as you would think, because it's not like they're gonna have to worry about, cost of materials changing and all those things that you typically would have.
Basically, all we're going to pay them to do is come square cut the openings, and they're done. We don't have the availability of the tools to do that kind of work. One good thing, we have a set of drawings that work off of for everything, so that'll help out.
All right, letter E, the administration building, RTU.
These are the rooftop units that have been on the capital projects listing for quite some time. The grand total of 5 on the list that needed to be done. 1 has been completed. That was the one over top of the business office suite due to a failure. I believe that was about a year and a half ago that was done. So we have 4 more to do. 2 of the 4 are heating only units. Those are going to the warehouse. And the other 2 are both heating and HVAC units that service the blue. What's that?
The air conditioning. They
Sorry.
pack heating air conditioning.
Yeah, sorry. Heating and air conditioning, and they services the blue room and the special ed area, and probably that whole area of the side of the building outside of the boardroom, because the boardroom is a totally separate unit. And then the other one services the superintendent's area in that side of the building. At this point in time, our recommendation would be we've been experiencing issues with the 2 units that are both heating and air conditioning. I know some of you have been in the building at times when there's essentially no air conditioning in the building. At this time, I would say we are recommending that we would be doing a replacement of both of those units, and leaving the 2 heating units alone, not replacing those
At this time.
Yes, as they only service the warehouse.
Do we have to do bids on those? Or we can go from what we have?
Those we purchased last time off of CoStars, so we would not need to do a bid for those.
Just have to bid the installation.
So do you have an approximate price for the 2 of them?
Last time it was about $25,000
a piece or total?
a piece. Well, for the one that we did do, it was about $25,000.
Comments, concerns? Is this something we need to look into, or we should wait till after the feasibility study, or it really is not going to matter one way or the other? Because you're looking at doing it now, right? Before the winter? Ben, is that what you're looking at?
I would like to move it forward as quick as possible, yes.
Okay. Dave, you're the only committee person. Comments?
I mean, if it needs to be done, it needs to be done if those units are failing and not able to function.
The last 2 that we replaced, Dave, was basically because of total failure.
Right.
Yeah. Had lots of holes in it.
Yeah.
And we don't want to get to a point where there's like where there's no HVAC. You know, it just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, I think a midwinter failure would be a disaster.
Yes.
When did mine fail, Mark? I think mine failed in like March-ish, April-ish.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it wasn't midwinter, but we were a couple months without any HVAC. I was okay. I won't say that all my staff were okay.
Yeah, I can't see not fixing it, you know. So, put that on top of the list.
I threw out. Am I okay to move to the next item, Mrs. Thomas? Sorry, I jumped the gun on you. I just put on there as a kind of a placeholder suggestion. Our next meeting date would be Wednesday, January 6, 2021 at 10 a.m. We typically, as a committee, meet that first week of January. I really don't want to meet that Monday we come back January 4th. So that's why we typically meet Mondays and Wednesdays. So that's why I suggested Wednesday, January 6th.
That's actually ideal for me because we're not back in session yet.
That was the other thought process I had for you, Mr. Becker, was that you wouldn't be back yet.
It's okay on my calendar, but are we going to address Bert on the timing?
During that day, I can meet later if you want to meet later. That's a good day for me.
Well, prior to this year, David, they've always been at night, and I don't have a preference one way or the other. I'm just making the statement because Mr. Francis brought it up.
Yeah, I mean,
going back to the way that Dr. Ulmer did say that. I mean, we didn't receive any phone calls today about it from anybody, at least wanting to comment or having any issues of not being able to comment. I did ask Mrs. Copenhagen prior to this meeting, and she said we only received that one phone call. So I don't know if we would receive that much different response if we would move the meeting at a different time.
No, usually you have 3 people that come. All 3 of them that usually come are retired, but that doesn't mean anything.
And I think that the key thing is we need to make sure that the members of the committee can meet. I mean, because there are times that, people have conflicts, and we're doing this out of our own time. So,
yeah, like that first week in January, I'm completely flexible. So,
I'm okay. I checked my calendar. I'm okay at this point on that date, and I guess the only thing to say, Ben, is check with Wayne. And if you can make the time, then, identify it as such.
I will do that.
Because David and I are flexible for that day.
Okay.
Now, the end of the semester.
How about you? Or you don't know yet?
Depending on when the last one is, it might be a different story in May, depending on, when that time falls, right? Like, that could be finals week or it could be after. If it's finals week, then it's always a lot of fun.
Well, and I do recall that, Mr. Becker, in the May meeting this year, you were like, okay, well, I got about this slot open.
Yes. May will be very crowded.
No,
we'll fit it in.
We can look at May at the point in time in January, and I do remember that with you also, Mr. Becker. But I think January was your first meeting that year, and you had said, can we just schedule meeting to meeting, because what we used to do was schedule the whole year's worth at one meeting. And you said, well, just can I get some flexibility in schedule? And I was okay with that, and I didn't hear any complaints from the other members.
I don't have my spring class schedule yet, so I can't tell you what my final schedule is.
Okay.
And the final schedule will not necessarily follow my class schedule per se. It is slightly different. So,
I will check with Mr. Kinley on the 10 a.m. for that day. Personally, just one-on-one between him and I, and then if he's okay with it, if it's free for him, I will send out calendar invites. Hopefully by January 6th, we will not need to be virtual, but just know
you might be an optimist.
And we're going to be back in school in May, right?
I am not going to send it out as a Teams calendar invite. I will only send it out as a normal calendar invite, and we'll have to do the same thing we did this time, where I will send a new one up if it's Teams and delete the old one. Last item is the listing.
Let's talk about that January. Let's talk about that January meeting a minute. And I'm okay with this date, but I was thinking about When do we look for the feasibility study to come in? I don't want to have the feasibility study come in a week after we have this meeting and then we wait to May till we look at it.
Yeah,
So-
that's true. I didn't even think of that.
Do you have, I'd rather move this a little bit later, or,
Do we have an ETA on the feasibility study?
Yep. They told us that they would probably be able to give us results late November, early December. With their timeline of getting into buildings, they're planning on getting into buildings October 9th and 12th when we don't have kids here. And that timeline, they believe they could give us a final report end of November, beginning of December.
okay.
Wow. And if that would happen, that'd actually be perfect. That'd give us a chance to review the report and then have this meeting on the 6th and incorporate that into our meeting here, right?
Yeah,
Like that would be.
recommendations from there.
Yep.
And we go out to the whole board then eventually, but we would make
Yeah.
recommendations as the capital projects committee. Okay.
Very good.
So onto the listing. Before we get into the nuts and bolts and the details of the listing, just want to look at the financial aspect of the listing. 1920 has been closed down. So we ended the year with $847,517 in the account. That is the cash balance. The 2021.
Now, just before you move on, and at this point, everything that we were going to do, intended to do, has been done and paid for.
Yes.
Looking at that right? Okay.
The actual projects completed, which is all of those stuff highlighted in yellow,
Right.
that grand total of $319,741, which was done last year. Obviously, the majority of that was in the pool drip project. If you wanted to know what wasn't done as far as dollar amounts, if you look at the 1920 column, you can see the grand total of those scheduled projects was $872,692. So some quick math there, it looks like we did complete about $550,000 worth of projects. Obviously, those numbers in red are estimates, so those are estimated dollars. I did want to let you know, because this is a little bit slightly unusual than normal, because I always try to give you month-end figures on this, but I did not do it this time. The ending cash balance under 2021, the $610,043 is as of, force my comment. As of 8/24/20. So that's as of August the 24th. Reason being is that was when I was working on it, A. And two is because we made the final installment payment for the middle school project in August, and I wanted to make sure that you saw where we were today. And that was a big payment that was made in August.
So that's completely out of this number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The middle school roof project is out of the number,
Okay.
and paid for in full. So out of that $610,000, the two things that we have committed for this year that I know we have to pay is the just $66,000 security camera lease payment that will happen at the end of the year, and the $15,000 Avis freezer project that was approved at the last meeting. Okay.
And that was around 15, wasn't it?
15,850.
Okay.
And I did add that to the listing. It's in the total projects, and it's in the projected projects. I'm just telling you those are
Okay.
2 known payments that we're going to have to make out of this account. Mark, one of the members did ask me a question concerning the hot water heater at JSE, that being on the listing for the 21-22 school year. If I remember correctly, that hot water heater was not replaced during the renovation project.
That's correct. It was a good PVI water heater. At that time, it still had some life on it. It's been 5 years now, but it is projected on this list to be replaced when the year that it's on there for. But then that there's actually the 4 rooftop units at JSE on the cafeteria. They're existing, and that hot water heater was another thing that was kept because they weren't at their life expectancy when the building was redone.
To be totally honest with the committee, I honestly think this entire listing will be changed, updated, not look this way at all, coming out of the feasibility study.
So other than those 2 things and the demolition for the D-wing up there at the high school is the only things that we really have to deal with right now until we get the feasibility study. Is that the way you see it? I mean, sometime this year. You've already got the cameras, so that has to be paid, just so you pay it at the end of the year. But won't it be in this time frame where you'll be doing the demolition and putting the new wall in, Mark, in the 2021? I mean, or not? Or we'll go into 21-22?
Probably will be 2021, because I'm thinking they'll be demoing and done early part of June.
Okay. So then that's the third thing that needs to come out of here, but we don't know cost at this point.
That's correct.
We know what it won't be.
It won't be 55,000. That was, if I remember, that was like double what we thought projected. So.
Check the back table there. There might be one.
Any other questions on the review or concerns?
School's that for,
we had, I think Craig, did Merle send that to the whole board? I think he did, that question.
Yes.
Yes,
he did.
Okay, so we did have the complex looked at, right? Didn't we have architects look at that and come back and say that it was okay? But we didn't go any further than that I remember.
That was the 3,821 that's in yellow for the 1920 school year.
Right, but they came back and said it was okay to be able to build one on that, whatever structure.
It was a engineering study that also certified the weight that the structure can hold.
Okay, but we haven't gone beyond that.
That is correct.
Okay.
I believe that engineering study was completed in September of 19.
Okay.
That was when, I can tell you, that was when we discussed it and we moved it to the agenda. Looks like, based on my notes, we must have approved the whole study at the 9/23 agenda.
Right. I know we approved the thing, but I don't think we went beyond going ahead and approving to build it yet.
No, we never moved it forward.
And once we get the feasibility study done, there probably will be a lot of these projects that are out projects that we could roll in under an issue of a new bond.
Right.
That would kind of take those off the list, and we'd start with a fresh balance.
January 26, 2020 capital projects would have been when we announced that study was complete, and I believe, based on my notes, it was a 20,000 pound score press box that structure could hold.
can you give me any inkling of what kind of a size that is? 20,000 pounds. I mean, I know what 20,000 pounds is, but in a building structure, it means
I
nothing.
believe you. I also had a note on there is 8 by 20.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, if you're talking to us, you're muted.
It was 8 foot by 24 foot.
24.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So we'll just kind of wait on that to see where the feasibility, and like you say, Craig, if that's something we would roll into whatever bond issue that we would be looking at the time.
Yeah, I think the biggest question was if the bleachers would hold it, that would really be a game changer. If they wouldn't, that's what we had to find out.
Right.
Now we know that they will.
I am concerned. Mark and I had this conversation today. Coming out of this whole CTE wall project, we need to, as we go forward, need to be concerned about the amount of projects our in-house staff can do. We essentially, that is limited to $11,300, and that includes wages, benefits, and materials. It doesn't mean that we can't do them, but we would still need to bid it out, and we have to take the lowest responsible bidder. So just know that.
What are you saying there? If it's more than 11.3, because before you told us we didn't have to bid this because we already went through bidding process.
The CTE wall project, yes, that is true because of the bid results we received.
Oh, are you talking about the press box?
I'm
Because
talking
the
about
bids
any
failed.
project going forward in the district. We got
Okay,
to,
gotcha,
we have to be
gotcha.
cautious about that and
All
doing it in-house. You know, if we start looking at projects and it's going to cost us $8,000-9,000 in materials, probably we're going to have to bid it out because we're going to be above that threshold once we throw in labor.
Anything else from the committee for the good of the order? Mark, you want to just give us an update on Salisbury from last week?
As far as
Well, we had one day we sent the kids home, but right now everything seems to be working. I'm assuming it seems to be working well because the nights are getting cooler.
Yeah, we've been watching it pretty closely, trying to get as much cool air during the night. We haven't veered from that. Basically, at around 2 a.m., the building's starting to turn on, bring as much cold air in as possible. Seems to be holding up pretty well until around, well, today was pretty decent, but last week around 12, 1 o'clock, and then we start getting a little warm in there. But luckily at that time, they're going out the door. I don't know anything else that we could possibly try.
Are there any fans circulating at all in the room just to move the air or not? Or I guess the units do that, right?
They do, but I think most teachers have floor fans, and they've always had floor fans up at Sounds.
Okay. I assume, did you get good reports back from parents at the fact that we left them out at 1 o'clock, Dr. Ulmer?
I didn't have any negative complaints.
That's good.
I've had negative complaints on days that I didn't let them out early, but no negative complaints on the day that I did.
Well, they would keep you itching earlier and earlier, or lower and lower as you go, so we'll just deal with that.
I did want to bring up, just so that the committee is aware, we are struggling with our soccer field. We are not practicing on that field. I moved practices, I think it was last week. Mark and Serena and I have talked about, we are creating a game field at Avis Elementary because of the condition of the soccer field. Quite frankly, it's suffering from the drought we're in. And just today, Mark and his team have been trying to water it, but we received a notice today from the water authority that they had issued to the community a voluntary water reduction. Even though it's voluntary, Mark did receive a message today that they noticed that we started watering the field again, and they wanted to remind us that they had instructed borough residents to reduce water consumption. So thankfully, we've got some rain coming that we might be able to reduce our usage of that system. But I instructed Mark to continue to water it because I don't want to lose what grass we still have alive on that field and put us in a situation where we have to resod the field. So hopefully we can string together some of the rain we have coming and water it periodically to comply with the borough's request. But I just want the committee to be aware of that situation. We have also been watering the football field to keep that in good shape to play football. So those kids will still be able to have the soccer teams will still have their scheduled games in the stadium as they normally do, but their typical game field will be in front of Avis Elementary.
You can tell the borough that we volunteered to save water before they even requested it.
Yeah, just tell them we went down to watering once a day instead of twice. I had someone leave me a voicemail on that when I was at one of my other meetings today. I just laugh. Yes, we can use some rain. Hopefully we'll get it, but not on the holiday.
That's probably when we'll get it.
Anything else? Craig, anything?
Nope.
Dave?
No.
Mark? Ben, you have anything to?
I think I've talked plenty.
Okay, hearing none, we will adjourn the meeting. It is 3:51, and our next meeting at this point will be on January 6th, time to be determined.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey,
Thank you all.
Jeff.